Have you ever felt that nervousness and anxiety when it comes to turning your camera on and going live or recording video for the internet that you're going to put out there? If so, this is the episode for you because today we are talking to Katie Fawkes of Ecamm, and she is going to be talking about her journey from behind the scenes to the forefront of video podcasting and marketing over at Ecamm. And it's absolutely inspirational. So stick with us because you are going to love this episode. All right. I am Kendra from KendraLosee.com, and you've tuned in to the Invisible to Invincible podcast, where passionately driven women in business share their journeys from hidden gems to industry leaders. And today, as I mentioned, we have Katie Fawkes, and Katie is the director of marketing over at Ecamm, where she gets to work alongside some of the most amazing live streamers, podcasters, and content creators out there, helping them to reach their goals, grow their show, grow their business through video and live streaming. And in addition to heading up Ecamm's marketing team, Katie is the co-host of the video podcast The Flow, and she's an all-around awesome person. So I'm excited that she's here. Welcome, Katie. Thanks
We're
for
so excited
being
to be
here.
here.
I know. Thanks for being here.
Of
I just
course.
want to say before we get started that I interviewed you probably like 2 years ago, 3 years ago
Yeah,
now
it's been a while. Yeah.
for my old show. And just even the difference in watching you grow on video
Leveling up.
from then to now
Yeah.
is I just love watching your journey.
Oh, yeah.
I love the videos you guys have been doing lately of like the first show versus now. It's absolutely inspirational. And so one of the things that I think that I run into a lot is people are afraid to show up on camera. People are afraid to, especially when you say go live. The
Yeah.
amount of people that I talk to, that women in particular, that just
hmm
hesitate and I can see them shrink. I can see them get anxious and
hmm
that anxiety of just like, oh God, no. Like it's amazing. So can you talk a little bit about your background and how you got from where you were to where you are today?
Oh my goodness. So yeah, if you're that person who's like, no, I don't even want to watch this episode. This episode is scary. Everything about this is scary. I was you. I started my career as a copywriter and then moved into the world of social media. I have always been a behind the scenes project planner, like nail it for someone else person. And the idea of being on camera at all, I mean, even taking photos of myself is as far away from my personality as it could possibly be. So it's hilariously ironic that now I spend probably a good 60% of my time personally and professionally sitting here either in my home studio or in the work studio, but I'm podcasting or doing podcast interviews or live streaming or catching up with friends on video. Like many of you, I'm in a video centric world these days. But yeah, I distinctly remember, and I've talked about this a lot on on LinkedIn and on my other social platforms. I worked for a company called Paint Night, and I ran their social media marketing program and also the local marketing for all of the individual business owners who were running all of these events out in the field. And I needed to do internal training videos. So like no one was going to see these except for the business owners who I knew really well. There was like 100 something business owners. Those are the only people that were going to see them. And I kid you not, I had one videographer standing with a camera in a room that had been in, a ton of times. I knew the information inside and out. And every time the camera came up and he was like, okay, and go, I couldn't get my name out. I would like blah blah blah. There was swearing, there was crying. It got to the point where after like day 3 of recording, I was like, can I write the script and someone prettier, better, more confident could just record it? Like, does it have to be me? Because I just couldn't do it. And it was scary and overwhelming. And I'm like, oh, I'm terrible at my job. Why is this so hard? And I have a theater acting background. So I'm used to like being on a stage. So it's like even more embarrassing. But there's something about the idea of video that has always and does continue to feel like it needs to be perfect, like it needs to be produced, like you're something is going to happen if you trip over your words or if you don't say the right thing. People are going to be like, well, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll see you later, which is not the case, but we all feel that way to some level or another. So flash forward, I ended up hilariously taking a job at Ecamm, which is a company that makes a live streaming and video production tool. And in the same way, I was like, stay behind the scenes. Like, I'll help other people be really good at this. And I'm really, really grateful to our two co-founders who they themselves also don't like to be on camera, but they were very much like, hey, we have all these amazing influencers and content creators and YouTubers, and they want us to interview them. They want they want to be on camera. They want to talk about their experience with our software. We need someone to do this. And I was like, oh, I really want this job. I love like who I work with. I love like this company. I believe in the vision and getting your content out there. But it took me, I think, God bless them. I think Ken and Glenn did like the first probably 5 interviews where like it would come to the day of, and I was like, I'm good, I got this. And then Glenn was like, are you sure? I can do it if you want. I was like, yeah, you do it. I'll just stay back. I'll stay behind the scenes. So I did. I finally got out there. It was absolutely terrifying. I felt like it was terrible. I felt like I looked terrible. But you know what? Every time I kind of push myself to do it again, someone would show up in the comments and say like, oh, this was so helpful, I learned a lot. And then people started showing up in the comments and saying like, oh, Katie, it's so good to see you, like we love getting to spend time with you. And then there was like a group of people that would follow me from one video to another and be like a little cheerleading team. And now I'm in a place where I feel like if I'm not live streaming and if I'm recording a video, it's way harder than live streaming
was
because
actually
I
just
don't have
thinking that.
cheerleaders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I whenever I do recorded video now, I feel extra pressure
Yeah. Yeah.
than I do when I'm live, because when I'm
Yeah.
live, I've come to like, anything can happen. It's acceptable. It's fine.
It's
My
real.
dog's gonna bark.
Yeah.
I was doing a live stream last night, and thank God it was just a dry run, because as soon as we started, they started jackhammering the street outside my
Mhm.
building
Yeah.
at the exact same time we started. And I
Mhm.
was like, I'm just going to ask you questions and interview you and mute, and I'll produce on the back end for you. But I have to mute myself
Yeah.
because you just don't know. You don't
Yeah.
know.
You never know.
But it's funny because you say that, because I actually, when I first started live streaming, I had the same hesitancy, because
Mhm.
it was like, oh my gosh, the world's going to see it. Okay, I don't know how big I thought my ego was, first of
I
all.
know. Yeah. Everyone will see it and they're
Let's
all going to
start
judge us. Yeah.
there. Everyone will see it. Those 5 people really
Yeah.
appreciated it.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I was putting it off and putting it off launching my show, and I really wanted to do it, and I've like, my background was journalism. Like, I loved my first
Mhm.
job was interviewing people, and I love interviewing people, but it was the live video. It was
Mhm.
go live and that pressure. And I
Mhm.
was talking to some friends, and one of them looked at me. He's like, "Don't you teach?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I teach marketing and social media, like for four and a
You're
half
like,
hours a
that's different.
day, a couple
Yeah.
times a week." And he's like, "Don't you do that online too?" I was like, "Well, totally, yeah." And he goes, "Are they live?" I was like, "I don't like where you're going with this question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm missing your point on purpose, and I don't
Yep.
love it." But literally, like 2 days later, it was like, it's got to be the same thing,
Yeah.
and it has been. Like, I absolutely love it. Like I said, I feel more pressure recording.
Yeah.
And that's part of why, like, I love watching your journey on this too, because I think that you started working at Ecamm probably, I think, around the same time I started working on live video, and so it's been
Probably.
fun to be able to see. Is there a mindset shift or anything that you had to do to actually go live the first time?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I had to. I am a total perfectionist. There, as you said, there's a ton of ego that goes into whether I'd like to admit it or not. There's a ton of ego that goes into it, and I had to just. I'm sort of glad that I was kind of trapped. I had to. I had to do it. Like I would have been the world's worst marketing professional working for a live streaming company and being like, but I don't stream. I don't, that's for you guys, and I'm here to help you, but I don't know anything about it. So I mean, the mindset I think came from just sitting there and saying, you have to do this or you quit the job. Like you have to do this. You have to do this in a way that is real and authentic to the people that are watching it. So I didn't want to come out there and be like, I'm fantastic at this. Like I wanted to be real, and I wanted there to be a journey, because then people could come along on the journey and it would feel relatable, and I would understand what they were going through and they would understand what I was going through. So it came down to, how important is this really? Like it really, like how many people are actually going to be watching this, and are the people that are watching it, do they care? Do they care if I'm like a little bit shaky? Do they care if I trip over my words? They don't. They really care about the content that I'm providing. They've shown up to learn what the topic is that we're talking about, to get ideas and examples from businesses and from business owners that we were interviewing. It's not about me. Like, I was the interviewer. It has nothing to do with me. So yeah, I mean, it's really thinking through, like, it is still kind of, I guess, in some ways, the behind the scenes marketer. I'm facilitating bringing the content to life, and I'm the best person to do that, because I've built those relationships, and I know that this is the content that makes the most sense for the audience. So I was doing myself a disservice by sitting in the shadows and being like, oh, someone else will do this. Like, no one else was going to do it. That's literally was my job, to bring it out to people.
What you said there, I think, is so important. And one of the things we've talked about are business, there's so many business owners who feel the
Mhm.
same way. And especially a lot of us are coming from corporate. A lot of us, I mean,
Yeah.
I spent more than 20 years working in marketing
Mhm.
departments, and my job was to help other people show up and look good. And it was
Yeah.
really easy to stay behind the scenes. And even when I
Mhm.
created my own business, I had a logo, I had a business name. It was still really easy to
Yeah.
stay behind the
Yeah.
scenes. But no one, I mean, people cared, but not really. Like, it was like, oh, you should go talk to Kendra. It was not, oh, you should go talk to this business over here because
Yeah.
they do good work. It was, talk to
Mhm.
Kendra. She'll be able to help
Yeah.
you. And it's such a transition to decide to show up and decide to take that leap. And it's so
Mhm.
fascinating to me that you didn't like video when you started working at Ecamm.
It's exactly how it was going to turn out, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's just wonderfully ironic. Or I was like, of course, I've done this to myself. But yeah, it's been a fun ride. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And now you not only are working on interview people, and I see you online with interviews and things all the time, but you have your own, like, you do it for fun too.
Yeah, yeah. It's so funny. So again, in a similar story. So I have a childhood best friend who I'm still very, very close with, and we grew up across the street from each other. So we grew up in the 90s, running back and forth across the street, watching movies, like hanging out. And now she lives in Montreal and I'm here in the Boston area. So we don't see each other as often as we would like. And so years back, pre-pandemic, years ago, we decided we would like commit to getting on a call once a week to just catch up. So we called it BFF chat. We were like, we're there every Thursday, 9 p.m. We're just going to catch up. And then she was much more the person who, like, as we started doing it, she was like, well, we could just turn on our video, like, because we weren't making phone calls. We were talking through like Google and all these different platforms. So we're like, we can have a video call. And I was like, I'm good. Like, and this isn't even live or recorded. This is like literally just a phone call with my closest friend. And I was like, I don't really like how I look. I don't want to stare at myself. I don't enjoy that. And she was like, that's silly, but okay, fine. And so, so years later, it got to this point where we were watching movies. We were doing these like watch parties where we were watching, and I was like, okay, this is silly. Like, that's fine. I can be on video while we're like watching a movie together and commenting together. And after a while, I don't remember whether it was her idea or mine. We were like, well, we could do this as a podcast. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do a podcast, I'm going to do a video podcast because I work in video. And that's the trend right now, is that if I start with video, then everything else is easier from that point on. And now it's just become really fun. Like, now it's this time where, as I said earlier, like it it's not, now it's like not just me and her hanging out and chatting and catching up. It's me and her talking about some of our favorite movies and all of the people that show up in our live chat. So like, our recording process could be closed off. It could be this time where it's just us and we're recording, but it's so much more fun to do it publicly out on YouTube, and people show up and they share their stories from their favorite movies, and like, it gives us ideas, and it makes, I think, the content a lot stronger. And it turned from this like just us kind of closed thing, that because we've made it more open, we've built this little fun community, and it's just been a blast getting to like hang out. And we've made it very no pressure. Like if we now joke endlessly that it's like we record most Thursday nights. If we can't, we can't. And there's like, we'll update and let people know, or we'll jump on a Friday if we can't make a Thursday night happen. But it's very freeing because it's like, it's in my mind, it's just for fun. It gives me tons of practice. It's building my confidence. And there's no downside to it. It's checking all the boxes for me in a really fun and unique way.
I love that. And I think you said something really important there, and it's adding the fun, right? It's taking the pressure
Yeah.
off and adding the fun. And when you
Yeah.
can take that momentum and that casualness into everything else that you're doing because it's authentically you.
Yeah.
And you get that, I want to say practice being you,
Yeah.
which sounds
Yeah.
ridiculous. But it
No,
is,
but
because so many
yeah.
people turn on the camera and they're like, oh my gosh, I have to be perfect. I have to have everything in place. I have to say this. I have to pronounce everything perfectly. I can't stumble over my words. I can't say or any of those things. But people like it when you're perfectly you,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
perfectly perfect. And it's so fascinating to be able to see. One of the things that I talk a lot about too is personal branding, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that what they've done really well over at Ecamm is bringing all of you forward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and part of it's because they they don't like to be on camera either.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. They're
But
not marketers. Yeah.
exactly, but you've been able to really like they've everyone's embraced each one of you over there creating
Yeah.
your personal brand.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I think it's really like it's special. I was definitely never the person that I still probably don't even consider it like a personal brand. But I feel like a year or so ago I made this kind of decision where everything had been very separate. I was like, okay, well, like this is my Facebook page and like that's just for friends and family and like this is my Instagram and like I post photos of like my kids, so I don't want like that's only for like this is LinkedIn, this is only professional stuff over here. And after a while I was like, well, most of the people that like I have on Facebook actually are like friends that like I have certainly like family and close friends, but I have friends that like I've met through work that are like work friends. Like it was just becoming this like gray area in space, but I had a huge following. And so it felt really silly not to be letting people know what I was doing. It was like oh my high school friends are not going to care that I'm doing a podcast on podcasting. I mean, like whatever, but they did. Like the more that I started being like, oh, I'll share about these things or I'll let people know what I'm doing for work, the more people were like, oh, I always wanted to know more about video. Like, can I ask you some questions? I was like, sure. Or, oh, hey, that's so cool, Katie. Like, I didn't know that you were into this. Like, I also like you don't know unless you put it out there. And we're so worried about about how it looks or about like work life balance and keeping boundaries, which is important. But I feel like sometimes we are making decisions for our people that we don't need to make. We're like, put it up there if you're proud of it. If you've signed on to do something, then hopefully you're proud of it and you feel excited about it. So I don't think that there's a harm in letting people know. And I think it's fine to share that information because you never know who's listening on the other side. Like I have friends who had been sitting there for a long time who were like, I really wanted to know how to podcast. And I had no idea how to get started. And I felt overwhelmed, and seeing sort of what I was going through and making that more public gave them permission to feel like they could talk with me about it or bounce some ideas off. And now many of them are up and running with really cool projects and different things that they're working on that maybe they wouldn't have been if they didn't have that level of encouragement or seen someone else doing something similar.
it's so important what you just said. And I actually did the same thing a year ago when I decided to
Mhm.
pivot out of cannabis and focus solely on like, okay. And doing that, I put myself forward, right? Like, here's my
Yeah.
name, here's
Yeah.
who I am. I converted my Instagram because I was trying to manage,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I was trying to manage a personal Instagram, one for cannabis marketing, one for non
Yeah.
cannabis marketing for those other things. So that's three
Yep.
just on one platform.
Yeah.
And then I had my business ones on LinkedIn. So there was three more. Like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? I'm one person. Like,
Yeah.
and as I've pulled things together, if people don't want to listen about work stuff, great, you don't have to. But here's some personal things, and here's some stuff that's
Yeah.
going on. And for each person, that line of what they want to share about their personal life varies.
Yeah.
But if like set your boundaries about what you don't want to talk about or what you want to keep private, and then work
Yeah.
around it because
Yeah.
people don't necessarily, and that's where I think it's the emphasis on how to stand out is so
Hmm.
important more and more with video and with that personal branding, because with AI and everything else that's happening, it's
Hmm.
easy to get lost and sound like everyone else, period.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're going to need to find ways to be more human, to be
Yeah,
more relatable, because people, like, as those lines are blurring, things like live video are going to continue to be and to become even more important than they are now, because people want to see those, like, what we would think of as moments of like, oh my goodness, right? Like a cat walked in across my keyboard, like my kids ran in, like there's crazy noises outside. Those might be like surprising and upsetting and whatever for us right now, but that's an indicator for a person on the other side that you're really creating this content in the moment. They can trust you. There's an authenticity or realness there. This is not like something where we're pulling the wool over anyone's eyes. Like, this is us there to answer questions, to help people, to share what we're trying to share. So I think it's going to continue to be more important, as there's so many ways to game the system right now and so many kind of changing parameters for content.
absolutely. So I was talking about that first live video that I did.
Mhm.
I had it set up and I was sitting on my couch, so I wanted a little more casual, but like chat with me kind of thing.
Mhm.
And as I was doing it, my dog was a puppy at the time, and he jumped up on the couch behind me, started walking along the back of the couch behind me, and then fell in between the couch cushion and the
Oh
couch. So
no.
then he just like
Oh
disappeared while
no.
I was talking. And I had no guests. It was just me. And then he like you saw his little puppy legs like pull himself like up, and then he hoisted himself back up, shook himself off, and then kept walking. And that's how
Perfect.
you know it's live. Like, this is
Yeah.
not, I couldn't make this up. We didn't practice this, me and my dog.
Yeah, no, but those are the things that people remember. Like, it's, I don't know. I mean, if you think back to any of the content, I mean, even on TV, which is certainly becoming like less and less of a thing, right? Like, none of us watch cable TV or live TV anymore. But in those moments where we have like the memorable newscasters where like kids have come screaming in, or something crazy has happened, especially as we were like at the beginning stages of the pandemic, there was a lot of that. And it it's kind of nice. Like, it's memorable. It makes people feel real. It's relatable. There's sort of a moment where you're like, oh right, like this is a person, and
Yep.
like they're going through all the same stuff that we do. I think it stands out. And so, I mean, wouldn't want it obviously in every single one of your videos, but I think we need to be less afraid of that. Like, it's going to happen here and there. It's going to happen to everyone. It's what happened to late night hosts when they had to do things on their own at home.
Oh my
Like,
gosh,
it's
those
just
were
part of it,
hilarious
right?
to watch.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where, like, I'm not thankful for the pandemic, right? Like, there was a lot that
Mhm.
happened, but
Yeah.
one thing that I do appreciate is that letting go of that feeling of, if we're showing our face online, we have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Whether it's
Yeah.
photo, video, what have you, it doesn't have to be perfect, because
Mm-mm.
we're not perfect. And it goes back to, whenever I talk about to people about this, it's like, who's deciding what's perfect and not? Right? We're the perfect police, because everyone's going to have their own idea of perfect. So you're never going to achieve that. So it's never going to matter.
Yeah.
So, of everything, stop chasing that.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm also like the perfectionist and had to have everything buttoned up. And then my dog's doing acrobatics in the background. I'm like, I'm done. Let's just do this. Like, we're good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly, and I would encourage anyone that's getting into this space, or even if you've been there for a while, like, you can certainly plan a ton. You can have notes, you can have a detailed in tools like Ecamm, you can build out what we call scenes. So like, you can plan out all the content, you can practice, you can do practice rounds of things that you're going to do, the same as you would for anything else, teaching or any kind of presentation that you're doing. You can practice all of that. I guess what we would just say is, like, don't let the overthinking stop you from creating the content. Like, one of the hardest parts of recording a video versus live streaming is that you can pause it and stop it. So then you've given yourself permission to be like, that sounded dumb. I'm gonna stop that. I'll record again. Oh, I hate that. I'll record again. I hate that. I'll record again. And you can get into this cycle where you could lose a whole day, or you could lose a whole project, because there's a way that you want it to sound in your head, or you're like, oh, I'll edit that later. All of that is time, and
Mhm.
some of that matters, but not all of it matters. So yeah, I think practicing in a live setting kind of forces you to roll with the punches a little bit and to keep pushing through and get the content created. If you want to edit it later, great, edit it later, but at least you've gotten it all the way out. And then, what you would do differently next time or how you might tweak it. But versus kind of sitting there in that paralysis of, oh no, I need this 45-minute video. And like, that's feels like forever. And I don't know how I'm going to do that.
That would be forever, 45 minutes. And that's crazy.
But an hour live stream goes like that. I got to tell
fast.
you.
I know. Yeah. It's nuts. I think that, and that's one thing that you make a really good point, because when I'm teaching, like the last couple classes I taught social media marketing, I actually used Ecamm, pulled the students in, and for extra, after anyone that wanted to stay longer on one or two of the classes, I'd help them go live. They'd go sit in another room. I'd bring them in. We'd use my work Facebook page, so that way, like, no one that would know them would know them. I mean, like,
secret.
We're gonna limit it so that they wouldn't feel bad about it. And it was amazing to watch, because even in the process of one interview, like, you could see them start to like relax and stop worrying about who might be watching. Because chances are, if you're going to go live and you're going to be talking to you're not, chances are high, a reasonable person is not going to say such ridiculous things. Like, you're not going to be a normal person one day, and then like the camera goes live, and then just like crap comes out of your mouth that you've never said before.
It would be entertaining.
It would be entertaining. And there are people that we've seen those videos, but chances are high the average person, not that we're all average, but we're all shining stars, but we're not going to do that. So that's not going to be the thing that you need to worry about. Yeah. But yeah, it was super fun. And I know people that have done a lot of practice and created fake groups or what have you. To be able to practice. I will say, one of the things that I did recently, my boyfriend plays wheelchair basketball. And so I had access to TikTok Live, and I know nothing about sports. Like, it's shameful, but I like watching his game. And I was there for a 3-day tournament. So I just started streaming on TikTok and was like, this is shitty basketball commentary for a great sport. Don't expect much from me, but I'll talk my way through it. And I live streamed the games and provided terrible commentary that was like, he passes it to his friend. He passes it back to his friend. I think they're playing keep away. Oh, nope. Now they tried to hit it into the hoop. Like, it was terrible. And people would give me tips on getting better. And it was sad, because the better I got at it, like, the more I learned, the less engagement I got. So that's really like a reversible reward there. Like, but it was such a fun thing to practice and do. And it wasn't something like, talk about not needing to be perfect. You're like, I know nothing about this, but this is what we're doing today. Yeah. And I think that like that takes the pressure off of you. So if you listening to this or watching this are on the fence about going live, using live streaming as part of your marketing strategy, it's where you want to be. Because it is the way you're going to stand out. It is how you can make a bigger difference with your marketing, with your content, for a lot less work.
Yeah. I mean, there's like a bunch of different ways depending on what your personality is like. But to start, I mean, I have people who swear by the idea of just taking your phone and doing like a video journal. So just like once a day, record it just for you. Don't overthink it. Keep it like a minute or less, or whatever length you want it, just for you. Journal down some ideas, notes. Just the act of like seeing yourself on camera, the act of recording in a video way is a great way to get started. There are people like me who need to be backed into a corner in order to start. So if that's you, then sign up there's like a couple of different challenges that happen throughout the year. So there's one called Lita, where you just challenge yourself to go live every single day in April or August. So either works. And there's lots of different groups that will hold you accountable and get you into that space. And again, that's like in a closed group. Or like, honestly, I had signed up to do like a bunch of different kinds of like talks and presentations, et cetera, in a digital space. And so I needed to record them and send them over. So they didn't even have to be live streams, but I just live streamed them to an unlisted YouTube, gave that link to my best friend, and was like, sit here in the chat. And she would type messages so I could see them coming up in Ecamm. And I wasn't responding to them, but that like, oh, you sounded really great there. Oh, that was a good point. Like things like that just gave me enough confidence to keep going. And I knew that because I was live, I couldn't hit that stop button. And so I was able to record an entire presentation by doing it as a live stream, even though it wasn't a public live stream. So practicing in different ways, I think, will just get you out of, you just need to get out of the fear cycle and the paralysis that you're stuck in. So whatever that is, whatever level of accountability or kind of push that you need to get out of that, it's only the first couple times that are super scary. And then it starts getting into a rhythm, and then it feels more comfortable. And then you're creating, and really in the end, that's what matters, right? Like you're not going to move forward if you can't create the content. In 2024, you need to have video content to some level if you're running a business, whatever size business that is. So you need to push yourself for, no one else is going to do that for you. You're going to have to push yourself forward in it.
Absolutely. One of the things that I did in July, because apparently I didn't want to deal with April and August.
You can make your own. Yeah,
right. I went live every single day on Instagram because I wanted to play with Instagram and use that feature there. And if you're listening and this thought is really daunting to you because you're like, I don't know what to say for 31 days. I used Magi. I went over to AI, used Magi, put together my, here's my target audience. Here's the 4 things I want to talk about. Use each one as a weekly theme. Give me some talking points for each one. It gave me the ideas, and I used that for my talking points. It also helped me write the post by that point. And I used my notes app, I used Magi, and I used my phone.
Yeah, the AI tools are there to help make all of that magic. Like the only thing it can't do right now is be a real person on camera. So like all the rest of it can do for you, which is great. Or at least give you like the framework that you need to be successful, or to give you some confidence.
Yeah, and having that framework made it so easy. And even for as long as I've done video, I hadn't done any in a while. And everyone was telling me, even, from the first place, like the first day of that month, I had been traveling. I was in LA. I was like in a courtyard. I'd been out in the sun all day. I had random sunburns around my sunglasses and was trying to figure it out. And I didn't have my notes necessarily in front of me all the way to the last day of the month. And you can even see my confidence going, because I was rusty in the beginning. Like it was an invaluable experience. And I've been doing this for years. So just sometimes you need to shake it up for yourself a little bit, and being able to do it on my phone versus my computer. I was in different spaces that I wasn't used to. Yeah. Like you have that flexibility, and you know what? No one cared. Like people loved it. People loved it. And no one cared that it was harder to hear me in some locations, or that I was sunburned. No one cared. I was the only one that cared.
Yeah.
And so I absolutely love this conversation with you, Katie. I can talk to you for hours, but we're not going to.
I tell you, it's amazing, like how quickly the time goes by. So I would say that the mass majority of live streams that I do now, and podcasts and all of it, are at least an hour. And an hour to me felt like an eternity when I first started off, and now it's so much easier. So yeah, I don't know. I guess the other thing I would say is that it's harder by yourself than it is with someone else. So if you're the kind of person that needs to bounce ideas off of, setting it up and doing it with a friend or a colleague or someone that you trust, that even if you don't plan out any questions in advance, just get on camera and talk with each other. It helps the time pass by faster and gives you confidence too, because you're like, oh, if I was to forget everything right now, Kendra would continue the conversation and I would come back in and keep going, right? So it's helpful too to think through. You don't have to be by yourself, or you don't have to start by yourself. You could practice with someone else till you get confident and then figure out how to do it. It's a different feeling being by yourself than it is to be with someone else.
That's a really good point. It is much easier to do interviews than when I do my solo shows, and I enjoy doing them. Like I can talk. Let's be clear. Yeah, but I enjoy. It's always so much more fun to have someone there to ask questions and to bounce ideas off and to have these conversations, because you can. I think that there's more value in the combined effort than just one person. Yeah. So, Katie, where can people find you? And
oh my gosh, well, I'm
you
super public, as we just said. It's super public. So I am in front of and behind the scenes of almost all the stuff that Ecamm creates. So ECAMM, you can find us all over. And if you want to practice, Ecamm actually has a really great community on Facebook. If you go ecamm.tv/community, you'll drop into that Facebook group, and you don't have to be an Ecamm customer to practice and play there. So it's a good place if you want to test things out. I have my own 90s movie review podcast. So if you want to be in the past with me and my best friend, you can hang out with us most Thursday nights at 9 p.m. on YouTube and wherever you listen to podcasts. We're called the VHS Club. Our website's thevhsclubpod.com. And then my last name is Fox, but it's spelled the British way, Fawkes. So you can find me pretty easily across all the different social platforms. And I'm super public and welcoming now with my social media. So if you want to learn about podcasting and see my backyard chickens and learn how I crochet and travel and scrapbook, you are welcome in my space anytime. I kind of do a mix of everything that I'm passionate and excited about, which is fun, at least for me.
No, absolutely. It is fun. It's fun for me too. And I do want to reiterate what Katie was just saying about the Ecamm community. That is, Ecamm's the tool I use. It's the tool I got started with for live streaming, and the community there and the support there is absolutely amazing. So if you
Yeah.
are considering and hesitating about going live and trying to figure this out, you don't have to hesitate. You don't have to keep considering. There's so many resources and such a supportive community of people
Yeah.
who are just happy to support you in showing up.
Yeah, come in and lurk, honestly. Like if you're like, I don't want to just come and sit in the group and see what people are creating. I just find it so inspirational and like across every conceivable industry, people who are streaming church services, you have people who are like doing these amazing like presentations and live events, you have tons of podcasters, we have magicians, like literally every industry, get teachers, every single category, and they're doing just the coolest things. It's just I don't know, I find it really fun to just get some, even just some great ideas of what's possible, because once you see it you're like, oh, like I can do that. Like no, it's a level playing field there. It's not that anyone has anything better than anyone else. It all it takes is a really good idea. Implementing the idea is just a set of steps, right? And it comes down to like what you can afford and what you have time to train yourself to do, but it's all doable. Everyone started somewhere, right? So it's neat to get to see all the ideas and examples, but we're always practicing and playing around with each other. So any level welcome.
And it's fun. It's play and it's encouraging. So be sure to check that out, because the community, the Ecamm community, and what they've built and the tools that we have access to and the people are all part of it. And it's unlike any tool or community, like community based around a tool. I keep saying tool, but like a software, honestly, than I've ever seen. Because when I think of Ecamm, it's not just, oh, it lets me stream live. It's, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I can do this, and you can do this, and you can do this, and then there's these cool people, and then they teach you, and it's a bigger thing than that.
It's an experience.
It's an experience. Good job marketing it. Is that the word I was
Yeah.
looking for? Experience. It's all these things,
You're
and you get
welcome.
to act in it, and it's all around you.
And I always love when people are like, "How did you build the community?" I was like, "Oh man, this community built itself." Like once you realize like what you can do on video, it becomes like just this almost like a game where you're like, "Oh, I can make this whole stream look like a CNN show. Like I can
Yep.
have like scrolling tickers. I could do." And then it's just, yeah, people just get addicted justifiably. Like it's just really cool what you can accomplish. So yeah, the community builds itself, and their enthusiasm just like catches like fire. Everyone is just like, I could do this. Have you seen this? Let's try it
Yes.
out.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So be sure to check it out. Katie, thank you so much for being here
Of course.
today. And thanks to all of you for tuning in to hear Katie and I talk about marketing in live video and nerd out about the topic. And if you are inspired to take your own passion to the podium success, visit kendralosee.com for more expertise on how to amplify your business and your personal brand, and visit Ecamm to learn more about how to show up live and the community there. And until next time, I'm Kendra Losee. Thank you. Bye. All right, you thought you were done. I know I just said goodbye, but I didn't mean it. I decided it would be fun to include the bloopers from the beginning of the podcast episode with Katie for you to enjoy. So those are coming up. Have you ever felt the stage fright when you think about going on live on camera and broadcasting yourself out to the internet? If so, you're not alone, and this episode is for you. We're going to be meeting Katie Fawkes today. See, I told you. I told you it was going to be me.
You need to keep bloopers in for this episode in particular, so people it's relatable.
We're not meeting Katie Fawkes because that's not a person I know. Today I knew it. It's always people's last name too, and I think it's because of mine's such like a sticking point. No one ever gets it right. Okay, here we go. It's your damn Fox shirt.
It is. It is.
All right, here we go.